get to the money. Gotta get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. So you know that I'm on it. Gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids and me. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. And gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids and they. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money.
Welcome to another episode of Drinking After Dark, a podcast where we discuss random topics while having a few drinks. I'm your host, Darius, and as always, drink responsibly. And y'all make sure y'all follow Drinking After Dark podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And y'all make sure y'all like and subscribe to Drinking After Dark podcast YouTube channel. Tonight, I have a very special guest with me back again. This topic we're going to talk about was his idea because I was like, all right, let me read this topic, and I got to bring him back on to talk about it. But welcome back, my cuz. Ron, what's going on?
Man, excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me once again.
Yeah, so Ronald Hayes, man, he hit me up about this particular story, which I didn't know about until you sent it to me, and I was like, he really said something. Okay, let me read this. And as soon as I got up and read it, I was like, I got to talk about this because this is very, very interesting and stuff like that. Do you want me to go ahead and introduce why we're this topic that we're talking about, or do you want to bring it up first?
No. I'll tell you what. Go ahead and give a shout out to your sponsor. Then let's get into it.
Well, I'm gonna be real with you. For all the support, for everybody out there like that. Joe, he was, been real good to me and everything like that. He's no longer my sponsor anymore. But it's all good though.
Shout out to Joe.
It's all good though, because he's still supporting the platform and everything like that.
That's dope.
So it's good. But anybody else who wants to sponsor the podcast, man, sponsor the podcast. And before we get started, I know a lot of you guys are asking about reviews. Me and my boy James are doing. We're coming back next month. We've both been busy over these last few months, but we're coming back with more reviews for you. So y'all stay tuned for that. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. We're going to talk about Eddie George. All right. So Eddie George made some comments about this. First off, before I get into what he said, Ron, I know you found this out before me and you sent me the text. How did this come about across your phone, or how did you find this story? How did it come about?
Just being on social media, and I as someone who attended TSU back in the late 80s, excited to follow them and stay in the know. And I was just flipping through Facebook, and one of my Facebook friends posted it, and then somebody else posted it, and I read it and went on YouTube, pulled up a couple of videos to hear what he had to say about it, and that'll be something that you and I probably will want to discuss. So sent it to you.
Definitely. And I like the Uncle Nearest shirt that you got on too, man. I know you're probably drinking. You probably drinking. Yep. I ain't gonna lie. I had a shot of that one time. It about burned my chest. I was like, yo, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was something different about it. My grandfather had it. My grandfather had the Uncle Nearest, and I had it. I was like, okay. But I am gonna do a review on that. That's my thing.
Put it on ice and let it open up a little bit.
Okay. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, put it on ice. Do you drink Jack? You like Jack?
Actually, I do have some Jack. I actually have some Jack here.
Some regular Jack, black Jack, or gentleman's Jack, or something along those lines.
I have the honey. I have the honey.
Okay.
So I got that.
Put it on some ice. Let it open up a little bit. It'll change your palate. You'll stop drinking that honey.
Yeah, I definitely will, man. I'm gonna go ahead and now I did try the Gentleman Jack, which is very I like. Actually, I might just end up getting that next time when I'm at the
Yeah,
store.
Cinnamon Jack is a good pour.
But I'm still on my Crown Vanilla, but I'm drinking that Crown Vanilla like always.
Okay, as usual.
Uh, as usual, I just can't get away from it. I like it.
I
All right, so I'm gonna
understand.
go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and give you the backstory on the Eddie George comments. This past weekend, it was TSU's homecoming, like you said, and Eddie George seemed a little frustrated about the attendance and the support from, I guess you could say, fans, alumni, you know, those who are associated with Tennessee State or, you know, whoever. But I'm gonna go ahead and read some of these quotes. So, quote, and I'm reading from the Tennessean, by the way. Quote, what I find interesting is that there was almost 30,000 fans tailgating outside of Nissan at homecoming while we were playing the game, and into the a lot of them never came into the stadium. Some people might not find football appealing. It might be more for the social atmosphere. I told my team we may be playing in front of empty bleachers the last three games. Now, for those who don't know, I think Tennessee State has a winning record right now, and Tennessee State plays in the OVC conference. For those who don't know, so it's not not the SWAC, not the MEAC. They play in the OVC conference. But this is something that he has been talking about. Also on here, they said there was a drop off in attendance in the second half of the 2022 season after an average of close to 17,000 showed up for the first two home games. Then the average dipped to a little over 10.5 for the over 10.6 for the last two. Um, so what are your thoughts on Eddie George's statement? Um, and before that, let me read some more before I give you thoughts. Uh, if that happens again, I told my team it doesn't matter. We're going to use that to our advantage. We're going to play for each other. It's going to be important for us to gather up our own energy for each other. So, just your thoughts on the statement that Eddie George has made in terms of the fan support. Just in general. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm going to reserve my initial thought for later because it's definitely going to direct us into another conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But my thought is this. My thoughts together. My thought is this. Eddie George, to me, well, first of all, Eddie George, phenomenal player. He was phenomenal at Ohio State, won the Heisman. Phenomenal with the Titans, did his thing. Eddie George is used to, and this isn't a knock to Eddie George. Eddie George is used to playing in front of major crowds. Whereas TSU is different. Like you said, they're in the OVC. They can't even compete in the OVC. I think if I'm not mistaken, this is the first season. Eddie George has been there 3 years. This is his first winning season thus far. And we still have a few games to go. So hopefully he can, he can pull it out and get to the FCS playoffs. But HBCU is different. And regardless if you're a football fan or not, if you don't have a vested interest in the game, you're not going to attend. And there are a lot of factors working against them. Like the aforementioned, he's in the OVC. So he's playing against Southeast Missouri and Tennessee Tech. There's no allure to that where there's more of an allure to playing Grambling or playing Florida A&M.
Right.
Secondly, not playing in the hole, playing all the games in Nissan.
Yep.
They opened the hole back up when he came back, and they played a couple of games there, and people loved the experience of going to the hole. Nissan is a completely different animal. We bought our tickets Friday, like late Friday evening, and there were only 3 sections available to purchase our tickets, and that was right around the south end zone. We go in the game, the other side is completely empty. Completely. So if maybe had they opened up more seats, maybe they would have gotten more people. Just maybe. It's just a thought.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to keep in mind that people are more vested in games that matter to them.
Right.
UT Alabama is going to draw a much larger crowd than UT Missouri.
Yep.
The Cowboys, hate them or love them, they're a marketing machine. They're not anywhere near the rest of the teams in the conference. But Jerry Jones knew that Dallas versus Washington, Philly, New York is going to make a lot more money than Dallas versus the conference they should be in, which is the NFC South with Atlanta and New Orleans.
Yep.
So, and what is Eddie investing into the culture? What is he doing what is he or the school doing to actually get people to come to the games? Do students get in free? I believe they do, but
yeah, students get in.
They have to stand in line to get tickets like everybody else. Alabama State this year emailed their entire student body tickets.
Oh, wow.
Right. So if TSU took the initiative to do that, then you probably have a much larger attendance. The student body, they love going to the games just for the hoopla of it.
So when the current students at TSU, if they want to go to the game, they have to wait on tickets to go to a game?
They have to go to the ticket office and get tickets.
Wow.
And that line is, I'll put it this way. When I stood in line, because I didn't know if we were going to actually buy tickets to the game or if we were going to join somebody in a suite. So I went to get a parking pass. It's homecoming week and you have one person working the window. One. So students have to wait in that line just like everybody else.
Dang. That's
And then the games are played off campus.
right.
So they have to figure out transportation to get to Nissan. When it's just as easy for the school to just run the shuttle back and forth.
So this is not just a football thing. This is more of it's kind of like a whole school thing in terms of organization and all of that stuff. Because because if you play at Nissan Stadium, you got to pay for parking down there too, don't you?
I was just about to say that. You got to pay for parking. And I mean, parking is only $30, but to somebody that's $30 that they could spend on somebody else.
Or they could spend it in the concessions, something like that.
Right. That's a ticket. So if they just do things a little differently, I think you'll see better attendance. And you got to keep in mind what's the product you're putting on the field. And I don't think he understands that HBCU football is different than PWI.
Way different.
It's like a reverse culture to a sense. Whereas with Ohio State, the tailgating, the parades, the bands, they're all accoutrements to the football team. With the HBCU culture, all of these are major attractions. There's probably more people at the parade than at the football game.
That's true. That's true. Because I know you know about this. When TSU would come to Austin P and play, you'll see more people at the games just to see the band play than to actually watch the game itself.
Right.
So, you're absolutely right. Just real quick, Tennessee State right now is 4-2, and they're fourth in the conference. But yeah, they do play a UT Martin. Well, there's all the people in their conference. You know, they got UT Martin, Southeast Missouri, Lindenwood, Tennessee Tech, Eastern Illinois, things like that. So, in terms, like you said, in terms of who they play, certain people gonna come to the games that and who is their main rival too? Like, because usually some schools they have a rival, but when it comes to Tennessee State, I guess because of the conference they're in, they're not in the SWAC, they're not in the MEAC. A lot of people are not going to go to see them play a UT Martin. They're not going to go see them play SEMO or Tennessee Tech. So it's not only that, but I also take it a step further, is that even with smaller PWI schools, they don't really draw a large crowd in terms of their football games and everything like that. I could point to Austin P. They don't really draw a large crowd. Some people go out there, but it's not as big. But they do play on their campus, which is what you want to do. You want to keep all the money at home.
Exactly.
Instead of sourcing it out to a stadium where all that money could come to your home, and then you get cycle that money to your home. So, do you know how big the stadium, the hole is? How many people it can hold?
The whole probably could hold about 6,000-7,000, I guess. But you gonna pack it out.
So it's gonna look more than
the smaller the club, the bigger the party.
Yeah. I wish that, to your point, Eddie George has been playing in front of big crowds for so long. I mean, so long. You went to a major college. You won the Heisman Trophy. You played for the Titans. You played in the Super Bowl. You're so used to playing in front of 60, 70, 80, 100,000 people, because that's what college, big college stadiums, they hold over 100,000. But now you come down to coach on this level, understanding that, it's not going to be the same. Now, that doesn't mean you can't coach your team. If you put out a product that people want to come watch, then yeah. But as sometimes too, the culture of the school, if it's not really a big football school, you're not going to get like a support like that and everything like that. So I just think that he should, to me personally, he should just worry about the players. I mean, of course, if you want to push the game back to the hole, it'd be like, hey, we just packed this thing out. Let's not waste our money going to Nissan Stadium and all of that stuff. Homecoming, maybe I see, because if you want to have more people come watch the game, but just go back on campus and just play your games and pack that thing out. The energy will feel a whole lot different, especially for your players, because they're going to feel it.
I went to TSU 1987, 88.
Dang.
And right, I forget how old I am sometimes. And
wait,
back
hold on.
then,
let me ask you this question real quick. Dang it! I wish I could ask my mom, because I think my mom attended TSU in 80. Oh crap! Now I'm thinking. I'm born in 8. Y'all was there, yeah. Y'all was there around the same time.
We were there at the same time.
Yeah, because I was born in 88, and she graduated from college in 87. So yeah, high school, yeah. So she went to 10.
Well, we were there at the same time.
Yeah,
We were there. Say, Tim Cross was there. Tim Cross and I went to TSU together. There wasn't too
Okay.
many people from Clarksville, and your mother wasn't a Clarksvillian at the time, so we couldn't claim
No.
her as a homie. But yeah, we were there at the same time. But back then, TSU played homecoming at Vanderbilt. So they've always played their big games in a larger arena because the hole is nowhere near big enough to host a homecoming game.
Mhm.
And when the Titans came, that was part of the structure to build the new stadium. TSU had the option to build their own stadium, and they didn't. They went in with the Titans and paid them a nice amount of money and signed a 20-year contract. And I think somebody put some money in their pocket. I ain't calling who, but Webster was the president at that time, and I think he was the one who pushed that deal. But anyway, um, I said all that to say that even I don't see TSU ever filling the bottom bowl of Nissan, and they don't open up club seats for Nissan, and they're not going to sell any seats in the nosebleeds, and they're only
Right.
opening X amount of concessions for Nissan. So it's like you're renting a house, but you can't access the entire house.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing, like you said, that you had the option to build your own stadium. Again, keep everything in house, but we all know how deals get done. Somebody is we always hear stories and things like that.
Right.
But to your point, I want to bring this point up because while Eddie George was talking about, the stadium, of course, he's gonna feel some type of way by playing for the Titans. And his career, we all know him playing at that exact stadium. So he feels some type of way, like, yeah, I made my name here, we should do all this stuff. But when you bring up Vanderbilt, people don't know this. Vanderbilt don't even sell out. I mean, Vanderbilt, in terms of their football, even though they're in the SEC, depending on who coming to play them, they're like, because they don't, to your point, they don't have a product to put on the field. That's now baseball is a whole different story. They got a great baseball team, but in terms of football, you know, a lot of people don't go to the games like that at Vanderbilt, depending on who they play too. But it's and you would think being in Tennessee, us being in Tennessee, we're how would you describe Tennessee in terms of football as a whole, real quick? Are we like a real big football state, or is it just like we watch football, but we're not really into football like that? Or it's kind of
Tennessee, Tennessee is a big to me. Tennessee is a big football state, but that doesn't mean all Tennesseans are big football fans of any level of Tennessee football.
okay.
You have probably have a larger Alabama fan base in Nashville than you do UT. The only
That's
time the
true.
Titans really, really sell out is when they play somebody with a huge fan base, like when the Cowboys come to town or San Francisco, Oakland. And
Steelers.
people, yeah. So you may have that one, and I know a lot of Titans fans that have their Steelers jersey hanging in the back of their closet, and they can't wait to put it on. Like as long as the Steelers aren't playing, then I'm a root for the Titans. It's like even though the Titans are a home team, the Titans are their secondary team,
Yeah.
and you're one of them.
Yep. I sure am.
And that
I
and that's okay because we what was poured into you is who you are. You were born a Steelers fan. Steelers fans in your family.
mhm.
And the Titans are only a 25-year-old team
Yeah.
where you have all these other franchises that have had fan bases for a lot longer than we've been in existence.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, because we are a big football now. We're not as big, say you take Alabama or even Texas. That's pretty much like a religion to them down in those states. But we do have a huge football. uh, we're huge in football in this state, um, especially in the region that we're in. The Southeast region. So as a whole, is big down here. But again, when you're so used to being on the top level, maybe he could have took a page out of Deion Sanders' book. Just coach. This is his real first coaching experience, like college wise, as a head coach. Everybody got to start somewhere.
That's
So,
real.
so just use this just build the program up. That doesn't mean you can't build a successful program and everything like that. But we all know attendance is very important. There's money and stuff involved. There's a business aspect, but as a coach, worry about your team, and then maybe probably have a team around you to help you. Just like with Deion Sanders, he has a whole social media team pretty much around him, and of course he's such a big figure already. He could draw people because he's Deion Sanders. So maybe he could tap into that aspect to say, hey, I'm gonna use this platform to my advantage. We could reach these people, come out to support us and things like that. It is so many things for so many ways for him to grow in that aspect and stuff like that. But I hope to see I really hope to see a change at Tennessee State. Hopefully, like you said, go back to the hole and play their games and just leave Nissan Stadium alone. That's just my thing. Just leave that alone and just play at home. To me, I think the energy is way better for them to play at home than to now your bigger games. I get the bigger games, you probably need a bigger venue, but focus on home. I think you focus on home, then you build your way up. Then who knows? Maybe you can build that stadium that wasn't built a long time ago, and then you could draw
Wow,
more people. So
that's real.
who knows? Now you said you want to go into something. You didn't want to say it in the beginning, but you want to move on to
You
add on
just
to
you just
something.
touched you just touched on it, Dion. But before we get into that, let's keep in mind that not only is this Eddie George's first coaching gig, he and I can't say I quote, but pretty much verbatim, when Dr. Glover called him and asked him about the position or the athletic director or whatever, he went in and had a conversation with his wife, and he said, "You know what? I just had the strangest phone call. They asked me to be a coach at Tennessee State University." And his wife said, "Well, maybe they see something in you that you don't." And I said all that to say Eddie had no thoughts of being a coach. He was into acting,
Yeah,
acting and doing commentary from time to time. He had no thoughts of being a coach. And I think that the reason he was pursued was because they wanted to recreate what Dion did at Jackson State. But keep in mind, Dion put in a lot of work. And that was my first thought. He wants the love that Dion received, but he's not putting in the work that Dion is putting in or put in. Dion put in a lot of work at Jackson State. I mean, he literally laid the blueprint for what you need to do as a celebrity head coach to be successful in HBCU.
mm-hmm.
And I honestly, in my heart, believe that hey, baby, honestly believe in my heart that they felt like Eddie George was going to bring that same allure to TSU. Newsflash, he didn't. But
Nah,
it, I mean, all he's got to do is just put the work in. Like I said earlier, what have you brought? What are you doing to get more people invested in TSU football?
could that be? All right, so because you brought up the Deion Sanders, one thing Deion Sanders, we know obviously what he's really good at. We can say great at, and that's recruiting, right? He got the number one player out of high school to come to Jackson State. because he is Dion. I'm not saying everybody is going to be Dion. That's not. Let's just be honest. There's only one Dion. But can Eddie George be a really good recruiter to get some, top black athletes to even take a look at Tennessee State? Can he do
Yes,
that?
he can. He can. Like you said, he was phenomenal. We both agreed on that. He had a great college career, won the Heisman, played in the Super Bowl, had a good run with the Titans. So imagine you being my age and you watched Eddie George in college. You watched him as a pro. And now he's sitting in your living room talking to you about your son coming to play for him.
Mm.
So he has an opportunity to utilize his star power in a way that I don't believe any other head coach in SWAC, MEAC, OVC can.
So with that being said, with the how can I put this question together? The NIL deals, right? We know they're in place. A lot of these athletes, they're looking to profit off their name, image, and likeness. How can that work into the advantage, say, of a Tennessee State in a way? Not competing on the level of, say, the Tennessees, the Texas, the Alabamas, the Ohio States, the big schools, but in a way, how can they somehow use that to their advantage to even draw the top black athletes to their school?
Well, again, it's about, in order to draw top athletes, you gotta have a top program.
Okay.
You gotta be in a position to where these kids want to come and play for you for whatever reason. Kids are beating out Colorado's door right now. Not to go to Colorado, to play for Dion. They were beating down the door at Jackson State. Not to go to Jackson State, not for the HBCU experience. They wanted to play for Dion.
Yeah.
And Dion is a hell of a marketing machine. What Dion did in college is what college athletes are doing now. Dion Slick set himself up to, not set himself up, but the NILs that you just mentioned, Dion Slick paved the way for that to happen because he created primetime. He created a brand. He sold himself. And that's what NILs are all about. You selling yourself, you selling your brand. But you want your brand to be attached to a brand that's just as big as yours, if not bigger. There has to be some sort of allure.
Okay.
In order to get that student to want to come to TSU.
So
Because if you're a big time athlete, if you're a big time college athlete, you're gonna make money anyway.
Yeah.
Because of the NIL. But why should I bring my talents to TSU? What is TSU gonna do for me?
Gotcha.
What does TSU have going for itself? Is going to do for me? And you're not going to get the same shine as a PWI because you're playing in the OVC.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not going to see a TSU Tennessee Tech game on ESPN. You see it on ESPN3.
ESPN Plus.
Yeah, exactly. So you're not going to, it's not going to get that allure. Whereas if TSU went to the SWAC, now you're doing something. Now you're going to get some allure because you're going up against Florida A&M, so on and so forth. You got a chance to play in the SWAC MEAC championship, which is just as big as outside of like the Rose Bowl or the Peach Bowl, just as big as any other bowl.
Yeah, that's so pretty much Eddie George, if you're listening, focus on the program first. Focus on the program first. Build that into a winning program. Because top players want to go to a winning program. We kind of know that. Build that to a winning program. A lot of people don't know, like, because they're in the FCS, well, the Ohio Valley Conference. When they get to that playoff and they see, oh, they're winning on this level, and then when they get to that, I guess that national championship game on the FCS, where it brings like attention to the program, just that exposure. That's why a lot of players, I think when you remember Appalachian State, they were in the FCS before they even moved up because they were beating teams in the FBS actually. So they moved up to the FBS and they're doing pretty good. But that exposure is everything, not only to a program, but also to a player. Because everybody wants, they want to be seen because a lot of them have dreams to get to the next level and play in the NFL.
Exactly.
So basically treat it like it is a business, more than a sport. It is a business. Build it up, lay the foundation, build into a winning program, a consistent winning program, right? And then you can start, taking that with you, with your name, to recruit some of these top players to come to your school, and then you just see what else happens from there. So
put a marketing team around you. You gotta have a marketing team around him.
Yeah, that's the thing too, because like you said, he was really into acting, while Deion Sanders, he was constantly on TV, NFL Network. What else? He was doing documentaries and things like that. No, he always has the camera around him all the time, it seems, or he's in front of the camera all the time, it seems. So people, especially younger players, they see his face so much to where he can always brag about his accomplishments, and people bragging for him. Not too many people are bragging for Eddie George on his behalf. He has to do all that stuff himself just to say, yes, this is what I've accomplished and this and that and all of that stuff. But definitely put that marketing team around you to draw the attention to you, because I think the recruits that you're going after, these kids today, everything is through their phones. It's like you got to constantly beat it into their brain. Eddie George, Heisman Trophy winner. I want to go play for a Heisman Trophy winner, right? Even though like you have who's a great college coach, Steve Spurrier, right? Steve Spurrier was a great college player, right? He won the Heisman, right? You have players go play for him just because he won the Heisman. Why not use that to your advantage? Like, hey, I'm in these commercials. Y'all don't see those Heisman commercials? I'm in those commercials. I got the Heisman Trophy. I could show you the way to, be successful on this college level, and the teach you the way to be dedicated to get to the next level. So once he get that,
with that being said, not to cut you off, but with that being said, you still got to build a winning program.
Yeah, no, that's why I say you got to build a winning program.
You got to build a winning program. You just gave his record and his standing in the OVC. We're 4-2, fourth place in the OVC. 6 teams in the OVC. Do the math.
Yeah.
So that means there's 3 teams out there better than TSU in the OVC.
Well, the breakdown.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, to break down the record real quick, they're fourth place. They only played one OVC game, so they're 0-1. So they still got time to, get up there, be first in their league. But overall, they're 4-2. Now, the best team in their conference is UT Martin. They're 5-1.
UT Martin.
Yeah, they're 5-1. They're on the 5-game winning streak. So they're playing good ball right now. It's only 3 teams with above 500 record. UT Martin, Tennessee State, and Eastern Illinois.
Okay, so with that being said, TSU is the most popular out of these teams
Mm-hmm.
with the most popular coach. What's going wrong? What's the problem?
That is true. Probably like you said, um, there's not a winning culture there yet. So you gotta look at this conference, they getting the best players that they can because the foundations that they have set, they want to play for conference championships and everything like that. So um, just if he could build this program up and he stays with it, he doesn't leave or whatever. If he stays and continue to improve and everything, he could be the most dominant team in this conference to where it's like, all right, we done dominated this conference so much, we probably need to find another conference to uh move to, just like with Austin P, they moved to another conference because they were in the OVC with with these teams right here, but now they're in a whole different conference. So and they they're having a good year. They ranked number 24 now with the new FCS rankings. So maybe that could be the same thing that happened with Tennessee State. Maybe it's just, build your foundation, build your program, dominate the conference, and who knows, move on to another conference, better competition. The more dominant you are, the more you can move up, possibly move up, and get more exposure that way. So,
but it's still about the allure. How many people actually care about UT playing Tennessee Tech? UT playing, TSU playing Tennessee Tech. TSU playing SEMO. There were probably more TSU fans that drove to Atlanta for the Kennesaw State game than there are that would come to I want to say Austin P, but that would go to like UT Martin, Tennessee, and probably the same distance. Matter of fact, Cookeville is only 2 hours away from Nashville. Kennesaw State is in Atlanta. That's 3.5, 4 hours.
Right.
So you got fans that are driving further. Why? Because of the allure of the game. They're playing the HBCU. And like we said before, the HBCU culture is different. So when he was making the comments about it doesn't always have to be about partying and drinking liquor and eating wings, basically the culture of homecoming doesn't always have to be like that. If that's not the case, why did they just announce 24 hours, 48 hours after he made these comments that we're playing Howard University next year?
That's gonna be a huge game.
We have a 1-and-1 deal with Howard University. Go to DC next year, 2025. Howard University comes here, and then they have another game. I want to say it's Alabama State. I can't remember, but I think we play Arkansas Pine Bluff, and it was supposed to be a 1-and-1, and we went there, but now they don't want to come here. So to fill that gap, I think we're inviting let's say Alabama State here. I have to look it up, and paying them $100,000. Well, we got paid $150,000 to go to Arkansas Pine Bluff.
You know what? You're absolutely right. They change conferences. SWAC, MEAC, they'll have I think they're like you said, but it's not just a HBCU thing. It's a college thing. You got people who are fans of a team. They would travel far for a team. We have all seen it. It's just that
they will travel far for a team, but then again, it depends on who you're playing.
Yeah.
You and I just agreed that UT Alabama is going to draw more UT Alabama draw more than UT Austin P
Yeah,
because they
definitely.
have more vested in that game because that's a rivalry. TSU don't have a rivalry right now. But if they play, I think the only thing they had closer to a rivalry was Jackson State because we met them every year in Memphis.
Is that what Tennessee State is also missing too? Is that premier rivalry game? That
They don't have one. I mean, we went to we played in Memphis this year. I don't even remember who we played. Let me see.
because when you think about college, part of their season is those big rivalry games. That
Right,
one game out the season where everybody is coming, right? So,
right.
the here's the thing, the tailgating and all that stuff, that's part of the college football experience. That's just a football experience as a whole. So, even if they're not inside the stadium, that doesn't mean they don't have TVs hooked up outside, probably watching a game from outside. They probably just want to, being more relaxed, with their boys and all of that stuff, eating good food and all. It's just part of the college football culture,
Yeah, just
but
recruit them into college football.
yeah, so I never understood that statement because I was like, well, tailgating is part of football culture. So it's kind of like, are you upset that they're not in person? Like you said, a lot of them are not fans. They're not fans like that. They just go for, it is homecoming. They coming back home. They just want to spend time with some of their old classmates and everything like that. Enjoy themselves. It's
And
just
and I get wanting to drive more fans into the game. I get that. And I'm not going to say there's anything wrong with that because there were a lot of people out there tailgating. I mean, and it may have been more people out there tailgating than it was in the. Oh no, there was a lot of people out there tailgating. But um, again, he was making comments. And one thing I didn't hear Eddie George say, I didn't hear him thank the fans that showed up in attendance. I didn't hear him say that. All I heard was him griping and talking about how disappointed he was because a lot of fans left after halftime. Does he not remember that it rained after halftime? Not
yeah,
long, but long enough for people to be like, I don't want to sit out here in this.
right.
And we sat in traffic 30 minutes plus trying to get into the stadium because Metro had 1,000 roads blocked off.
Man.
Roads that are not blocked off going to TSU games. I mean, going to Titans games. I understand them setting up roadblocks after the game to keep the flow of traffic going, but they had a lot of roads blocked off even going to the game. And
Mm,
so if you sitting in traffic for 30, 35, 40 minutes, how many people do you think actually turned around and was like, you know what, I can go home?
yeah,
Or I can, I can go downtown or I could go do whatever instead of trying to fight to get into this game.
yeah,
So
yeah.
there are a lot of factors that are coming into play than just people not wanting to come out and support TSU. And homecoming is always going to be the biggest game of the year. You're always
But
going to have more people at homecoming than you're going to have
at your regular
any
season
other.
games,
Yeah, in a regular season game.
and that's what
Homecoming for a
any
reason.
yeah, that's pretty much what any school out there. Homecoming, everybody's coming back in town, stuff like that. That's usually their biggest game. That's what teams are looking forward to. They're looking to show out in front of their team. Now, I'm gonna read. This is something I don't know if you know about this, right? So I'm still on the Tennessean. So
Okay.
they pretty much have so this is according to NCAA.com. Uh, they have Tennessee State number 3 in their HBCU rankings. All right. So they have North Carolina Central number 1, Florida A&M number 2. So those are the two HBCUs that's ahead of them. So, which I didn't know they actually did HBCU rankings.
Me either. News to
Which
me.
I thought, I don't know. Maybe I'm just confused because of the conference that TSU was in, or they just ranked all the HBCUs regardless of what conference they're in. Like this is our power rankings for HBCUs. But I actually just saw this while you were speaking. I was like, oh, so Tennessee State is number 3 in the on the rankings and for by the NCAA.com. So that's very interesting. They were number 4 last week. They moved up one spot, but you're right. They have room to grow. I think they have room to grow, but like you said, I think the biggest thing was too that you said it that a lot of people were leaving after halftime. Once they see their band play, they like, all right, let's go ahead and bounce up out of here. Some people say because they love football, but not everybody. Everybody's just a casual fan. They're not an actual football fan.
And if
So,
you are an actual football fan here in the city of Nashville, you have other options. You can go to a Vanderbilt game. You can go to a Titans game. You can travel a couple of hours and catch a Louisville game or UT game.
mm,
So, I mean, yeah, if I do wish more people would attend TSU, but TSU games, but he the way his approach is like if you're really a football fan, then you're just because people don't attend TSU games like that, that don't mean they're not football fans. He could have found a better way to deliver his message. Now, I went online earlier and saw, and these numbers are going to surprise you, the HBCU homecoming attendance numbers are in. So for HBCU Premier Sports or more website, for 2023, the highest attended football games, the first one is the State Fair Classic, 52,389. The next one up under that is the Southern Heritage Classic that TSU participates in, 35,000 plus. After that, as far as homecomings and all of that, the Morehouse Tuskegee Classic, Tuskegee Homecoming, Jackson State Homecoming, Southern versus Jackson State, and Alabama A&M Homecoming. Now, out of all of these games, Morehouse Tuskegee, rival game, because it's a classic.
mm.
Southern Jackson State, rival game. Tuskegee, Jackson State homecoming, Alabama A&M homecoming. These are homecomings that are actually played in their stadiums. So you don't have to leave their campus for the homecoming, for the ultimate homecoming experience.
That's a huge deal. And I think once they, like you said, once they get their rival and they start playing on their own a home field, things will change. I think it will, because even though you can't pack more than a certain number of people in the stadium, that don't mean they can't be around campus with their TVs or.
You don't even really, I mean, we talked about the whole and the allure and the experience of the whole. You don't even have to go that far to pack a game. All you got to do is change your conference. The SWAC would gladly, and I mean emphatically, pay the buyout fee to the OVC for TSU to come.
They should.
Gladly.
They should. And
They,
I think
they because they know that's an investment that's going to pay off. So now you're playing Florida A&M and you're playing Grambling and you're playing Jackson State and Southern University. This is what's going to pack it out. So when you're at homecoming and you look across and you see empty seats, you're going to see the other side filled with Florida A&M fans because they travel well.
Yeah.
Or Jackson State fans because they travel pretty decently. Or Alabama A&M is like an hour and a half up the street.
Yep.
And Nashville is a hot city. Nashville is the go-to city. So you honestly think if we played Alabama A&M, we wouldn't pack out Nissan?
You would pack out Nissan, yeah. And you gotta think that'll be good for business for Nissan too.
Exactly. So if he really wants to pack it out, he's got so much going against him. I don't see it happening. I would love for him to, but I don't see it happening. They're,
So the
they're gonna they're gonna have to change.
so the full so in, before we moved on going any further, so these are all the teams in the OVC conference, pretty much. Uh Arkansas, Little Rock, Eastern Illinois, Lindenwood, Morehead State, SEMO, Southern Illinois, Edwardsville, Southern Indiana, Tennessee State, Tennessee Tech, UT Martin, and Western Illinois University. So those are all the teams in the OVC conference. But they do need a big rivalry game. They probably need to go ahead and just, try to figure out a way to get to HBCU conference and everything like that. Because, and don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure, even though all these schools are part of the OVC, they always looking for a way to move because it's a business thing too. It's a money thing in effect. And prime example, Austin P moved to another conference. So I think Tennessee State need to go take that lead. And if they could have that conference help them buy out and move to the SWAC, it'll be good for them. It'll be good for the school, and of course, it'll be good for the business of Tennessee State. So we'll see how that all plays out. Then again, we don't know the rules in terms of switching conferences or anything like that. Maybe it's like a couple of years. Who knows? They probably already got some in motion. We're just gonna have to wait and see in the future what time comes. But I would definitely like to see that. I would like to
But
see them.
the, the OVC is a dying conference.
Yeah, it is now.
Austin P just got out. Murray State just
They sure did get out too.
bidded them a dude. And those are like probably two of the biggest schools other than TSU in the conference.
That's what hurt OVC because those two schools left because they were two of the bigger names in the conference outside of Tennessee State. So two of the three big schools in the conference are gone. So now it's kind of like, why are you still here? Maybe you're going to have to leave out. Look at the example, right? The Pac-12, right? It's over for them. This is their last season, Pac-12, and all the other schools. I know you got some schools that are going to different conferences next season. But the Pac-12 basically is a dying conference. So, I mean, you just got to line up. I mean, just go ahead and get out before it gets worse. So that's the way I look at it. Just go ahead and make that move. Make that
wish
jump.
They would. I wish they would.
All right. So, I'm gonna ask you this one thing before we get out of here. I don't know if you heard because we were talking about HBCUs and everything. I know Eddie George said what he said, but Dr. Umar Johnson, I want to. I know you probably heard the comments he has made towards Coach Deion Sanders. He's been saying this basically. He's been really talking bad about Deion Sanders ever since he left Jackson State to go to Colorado. I'm not gonna really get into everything he's been saying and everything like that. I would say this: he is. I don't know why he's so upset about Coach Prime leaving Jackson State and everything like that. My thing is, I don't know why he's directing all his negative energy towards Deion State. Yeah, I said Deion State. Deion Sanders. Why not? What's with the? How come you're not going at Jackson State for not keeping Deion Sanders, or at least trying to make an attempt to keep Deion Sanders at Jackson State? I'm not understanding because he's been at this quite a while, and I'm thinking like, dude, you know, he's been telling you what's been going on, and yet you still mad at him for leaving.
Let me pour me
So
up another drink for that.
I just don't understand, like, Dr. Umar,
Oh,
what is your beef with a guy taking a job that wanted him to come? And he said, listen, I can fulfill my obligations here, but you said earlier he was pouring his soul into that program. He was doing seemed like everything, finding these kids clothes to wear traveling. He was cutting the grass on the football field. He was doing that. He was paying coaches out of his own pocket to coach his team where the school didn't want to pay his assistant coaches. And you upset that he's taking a job at a bigger school, right? Bigger conference, um, obviously more pay, but for him, it's more of I could coach on this level, the highest level of college football, right? What is your take on Dr. Umar's I would say negative energy towards prime time?
yeah. Uh, Dr. Umar Johnson, and this is no disrespect to Dr. Johnson, but to me, he is upset because Dion refused to set himself on fire to keep the rest of the HBCU football community warm. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dion's job, even though Dion went in there and brought a lot of notoriety to HBCU football and the HBCUs, and he did that just being Dion, just being the marketing guru prime that he is. Dr. Umar Johnson is upset for the same reason so many other Black people are upset for Dion leaving, because they wanted Dion to continue to lead historically Black colleges and universities to the promised land. You see what I'm saying? So now he's a sellout because he took his talents to Colorado. Do the selfish part of me does feel like, yeah, I wish he had stayed a couple more years. He was great. But the business side of me, the side of me that's a man that thinks about my family and the people around me, and think about business, I'm glad he went to Colorado. Dion was the first coach to leave an HBCU, first head coach to leave an HBCU and go coach at a PWI. The first. You know how big that is?
And a Power 5 school at that.
A Power 5 school, Colorado. Resonate for a minute. Colorado is probably one of the most conservative states in the union.
Yeah.
Well, outside of Denver, you take Denver out, and Denver's pretty conservative as well. And you hire a coach, a confident Black man that's coming in with class and swag and unapologetically who he is. That speaks volume. To me, that speaks volume. And what Dion did was laid the blueprint for what could be done with HBCUs.
Yeah.
Who is following that blueprint right now? Who picked up the torch and said, you know what, I got us from here. I'm going to take the blueprint, I'm going to take the foundation that Dion laid, and I'm going to build on it. Nobody.
Nobody.
You got HBCU coaches that were mad at Deion when he came to Jackson State. Eddie Robinson Jr. said in an interview, Deion's not swag. What the hell does that mean? He's not swag.
I don't know what that.
At one time you weren't swag. At one time, anybody that's a prodigy of HBCU, of the swag, MEAC, whatever, they weren't until they got immersed in that culture. Until
Right.
they became a part of the culture. So he was too busy hating on this man. Why? Because this man is getting the shine he deserved. Like you said, he spent a lot of money dressing these kids, and he got them. He paid for the seats in the stadium. So you got people in the stadium singing "One Monkey Don't Stop No Show," sitting in seats that Deion paid for.
Right.
When he first got there, practice field looked like a war zone. He cleaned all that up. And Jackson
Mm-hmm.
State, from what I'm reading, from what I heard, they robbed that man.
They sure did.
They robbed that man and then told him after they robbed him, they're going to continue to rob him. Words like, yeah, we're going to pay you the $1 million we promised you, but you got to pay your staff out of that $1 million. What? So Deion does what any people hold celebrities to a higher standard of accountability that they hold themselves. And I've said it before, am the corporate office manager and catering director for Slim and Husky's Pizza. And I love my job. But if there was a pinnacle that I wanted to reach in my job and Slim and Husky's couldn't get me there, but let's say Pizza Hut called me and made me an offer that I couldn't refuse, what do you think I'm going to do?
I mean, you gotta think about yourself. You gotta think about your family.
Right. You gotta think about. I have children. I got a daughter in college. I've got grandchildren. I've got a wife that I've got to take care of. So people are upset at him for doing things that they would do.
Which I never understood, because we all know we will leave a job for another job if they're willing to give us more money and pretty much show us more appreciation than our current employer. So I just don't understand that fact. And not only that, you making a statement talking about, well, he don't need the money. To him, it's not even about the money for him. You got to look at what has transpired while he was at Jackson State. You know, like I said, they were basically saying, we're not going to pay your assistant coaches. What's letting me know is you don't really want a good football team, knowing that when it comes to football is the biggest money maker of a college. So, so therefore, you don't want to invest into the football program by, giving him the staff that he, trying to put together to put a successful team out there on the field for you, because his job is to win games. That's it. That's his job.
That's it.
And he got to have the people in place to help him succeed at winning games. Because if you don't win games, you lose your job. That's how it goes. So
that's how it works. If you don't do your job, you don't. You got to find another job. They're gonna find somebody else to do it for you. That's just business 101.
Yeah,
and people understand business, but they take what he did more personal. Like I said, they expect him to make moves that they wouldn't make themselves.
So the great, we know the greatest HBCU coach all time, the late great Eddie Robinson. Let me ask you this. Back then, if he had a choice, if he had an opportunity, which he really wasn't presented with the opportunity, But if he had an opportunity to go coach at a big school, right, at a big Power Five school back then, do you think he would have taken that job?
I don't know. I don't know if he would or wouldn't have, but I wouldn't be upset if he did.
And for
People
those
want
who don't,
people want promotions all the time,
yeah,
but you don't want to see somebody else get promoted.
which is crazy. It's
Make it make
just
sense.
and for those who don't know, Coach Eddie Robinson, out of all the college coaches, all right, out of all the college coaches, whether it's Power Five, HBCUs, whatever, Coach Eddie Robinson was voted top five, I think number five greatest college football coach of all time. So, um, he's he was worthy. He has, and that's another thing I think too. Back to what we talked about earlier, Eddie George could take some inspiration from something like that just by building the program. You know, even though I don't think coaching is truly his passion, but this is something that you really want to stick with. Take that inspiration, build a program, and have those athletes come and want to play for you because of what you have done and everything. And knowing that pipeline from that school to the NFL. But I just think that anybody who had an opportunity, to get a chance to coach on the biggest level, yes, money will come with it. But if you have that opportunity to coach on that biggest level, to prove to people you can coach on that level, why not take a shot at doing it? I mean, do what Dion did. Dion took some of his players from Jackson State and brought them to the Power Five. You could do the same thing. Yeah, you're recruiting on this level, but if you got a chance, you got some players that probably need more exposure because you feel like they can play on the next level. Why not take them with you? And that was the thing too. I think that was hating on Dion too. He took his best players from that school with him to Colorado. Not him just leaving, but you took your sons. You took Travis Hunter, who we all know is going to be a first round pick. If he able to stay on the field, I don't like him playing too many snaps. He's taking way too many hits and he's getting tired. He's starting to see now. But take that chance. I mean, what else do you got to lose? You don't have nothing to lose. If you already proven what you can prove on this level, move up and try to prove it on the next level. That's the only way I see it. So I don't get the hate. I don't get what Dr. Umar was saying. Just it's all about elevation now. Another thing too, nobody, if you, I think a lot of these coaches don't believe their true worth too, because they feel like, well, this is the only opportunity I get, so whatever they give me, I'm just going to take it. But if you know you worth more, you should go get more.
That's real. And Dion knew he was worth more, and Jackson State wasn't going to give it to me. I believe if the situation was different and Jackson State was doing what they told him they were going to do, that they would have had a better chance of keeping him. I'm not saying he would have stayed. I'm saying they would have had a better chance of keeping him.
And here's another point too. If you, I don't know if you remember this, but when he got hired on at Colorado, Colorado didn't even have the money to pay him.
No, they didn't. They took a leap. I think they brought him on 5 years, $29 million, and they knew they were gonna get it. They knew what they were bringing to the table. It's like hysteria out there. You see it. You
Yeah,
watched a couple of Colorado games, and like you said, this is the lowest he's going to be during his tenure at Colorado. Like you said, you better get him now.
get him now.
Better get him now. I hate that they blew that 29-point lead
Oh
and
my
lost the
goodness.
game. So I was sick behind that. Like, what are y'all doing? What kind of conversation did he have with y'all in the locker room? It was like two completely different teams. But it's just going to get better for him where he is. This is his first year, and
Yeah,
nobody expected him to contend in his first year or his first 2 years. I wouldn't be surprised if I see them making the playoffs 2 years from now. I just saw them making a bowl game this year, and they're 2 games from a bowl game
It sure is.
with a
So
lot with
that
a lot with a lot more football left to play. And if I'm not mistaken, one of the bowls already reached out to him and said, "We want you to play in our bowl game." He ain't even won 6 games yet,
nope.
and he's already received a bowl invitation, a bowl game
That's
invitation.
that's how big he is. And another
He
thing,
he's just huge.
and
He's
another
huge.
thing too, when you have a Deion Sanders, right there, I'm not saying you're gonna compete money wise. I mean, you're not gonna do it, but there's other things you have advantages of to keep him. Um, well, I'm not gonna say necessarily keep. You could have kept him a couple more years longer. Probably extended him. They didn't even try to extend his contract. That's what
No,
people forget.
they could have treated him a lot better than they did, and they didn't.
You
And they're
had all
mad
these
at
years. You had all these years to say, look, we know we're limited with this guy. And you know this, but from a business standpoint, you didn't even try to invest into what he was doing down there for your school. Because he brought national media to your school, which they don't do. ESPN don't go to HBCUs. Well, I think they did like one or two because Stephen A. Smith is from a HBCU, but he brought them to Jackson State. He was bringing all this attention, and from a business standpoint, you got to invest in that. But they probably figured,
right.
well, he's only here for a couple of years, so why would we going to investing in this, knowing once he get an opportunity, he's going. That's every coach who who has an opportunity to go. And just at HBCU, it's smaller schools, whether it's even a Division II school. We have seen coaches coach Division II football, basketball, work their way up and coach major college programs. I'll give you one example. Bruce Pearl, college basketball coach. He coached Division II basketball, worked his way up, got to Tennessee, pretty much changed the men's program around. Now he's down there in Auburn doing the same thing. So, but it's just the fact that everybody is looking for upward mobility, whether it's within or without.
That's real.
So I'm just saying that while you had them, this is your window. This is your window.
Jackson
And
State fumbled the bag.
you fumbled it, and
They
now
fumbled the bag.
think about it. This time last year, people was talking about Jackson State. Now nobody's talking about Jackson State.
Nope.
Right? So for Dr. Umar to come out here and basically go off on Deion Sanders, this is not a charity case. People forget there's a business aspect to this. Even on a college level, there's a business aspect to it. And the fact that he did what he was supposed Deion Sanders donated his own money back into the program. That's the part that he's missing. He's like, oh, black man want to go to the white man and prove that, he belonged on that level. Do you know there were other black coaches that was coaching on a Power 5 level? There was other black coaches before him. And I guarantee you that, not all of them got their start on the HBCU level, but they got their start at small schools.
But see,
So,
that's where the problem comes in. Again, they were looking at Deion to be the savior of the culture of HBCU football. And they're upset because he left. Instead of focusing on, well, our next move, this is what we need to do now, they're still bitter because this man went on about his business. Because
and
they put expectations on him that they wouldn't even do for themselves. I know people right now on my timeline, and I ain't calling no names, they know where they are, that are mad at Deion for leaving the HBCU, and they've never been to an HBCU game. Never.
that's crazy.
Never. time they might have seen a HBCU team play was when TSU played at Austin Peay. That's about it. I know for a fact they've never been to an HBCU game.
Right.
You don't even support HBCU football, but you're mad at Dion for doing something that you don't even do.
And the fact, like, and it's not even just like supporting. You don't even try to even watch a game. I mean, like, if you have ESPN Plus, right? They do show some HBCU games on ESPN Plus. You don't even click on that game and watch it, right? So it's like, why you get upset? You can't get upset for a man doing what he's supposed to do, right? But you're not getting mad at the school who basically had the gym right there in their hands, and they basically like gave it away. And not only that, but the I actually talked to somebody about this. Where is the big donors at HBCUs?
Exactly.
So
And so many HBCUs fumble the bags in more ways than one. People talk about Oprah, who is an alum of TSU.
yeah,
She was giving TSU money, but she wanted her money to go to be spent on certain things. And that's like your mama give you $100 to go buy yourself some school clothes and you come back with video games. You think your mama not gonna have a problem with that?
she would.
Same rules apply. Oprah gave this money, but she wanted this money to be spent in certain areas. And TSU didn't do that. So she stopped giving money to TSU. I've got a cousin who's on the board at Tuskegee he lives in Indianapolis. When Tuskegee played in the Circle City Classic, he gave my cousin a stack of tickets. They didn't discuss face value, how much he was supposed to turn in, none of that. He said, "Here, sell these and just bring me back the money." When my cousin took him back the money that he made off the tickets, you know what the dude did? Put it in his pocket.
That's crazy.
He didn't count the money or none of that. He just put the money in his pocket. And this is the type of shit that goes on behind the scenes at HBCUs. Does it go on at PWIs? Probably.
Yeah, it goes there
It's
too.
but it's a lot easier to hide $1,000. It's a lot easier to stick a couple of $1,000 in your pocket if you are responsible for tickets at Oregon than it is if you're responsible for tickets at Alcorn State University.
Yeah, because at those major schools, them donors out there, they gonna want to see receipts. They want to see the books. They want to see everything, because
That's
their
right.
money, their rules. And if
That's
you
it.
don't have anybody out there who, if you don't have any big donors at these schools, which actually how Deion Sanders got paid at Colorado, because from what I read, the student body and the alumni all chipped in. It's like, hey, we got Deion Sanders. We know what happened down there, but we know what we're getting in return from Deion Sanders. It's not just a school thing; it's also a city thing as
And it's
well.
just it's like any other piece of money you spend. When money go out, it's either a liability or it's an asset all day long. And if you're pouring money into a program and you're not seeing the results of that program, you're gonna stop funneling money into it.
Yep, definitely. And now and there, Dr. Umar, man, you talking about another man leaving the school and this and that. You've been talking about opening your own school for I don't know how many years now. We haven't even seen the school yet. So worry
Right.
about getting yourself together before you start, worry about what another man is doing. This man is not
That,
hurting anybody.
that's the
So
deflection. That's the deflection.
that's all. I don't care if he does hear this. If you want to comment on it, I don't care. But leave Coach Prime alone. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's given a lot of these, and you got to think too. At these major schools, most of the players at these Power Five schools are predominantly black. When you think about it, so I mean, David Banner even once commented and said, "We got to stop sending our top black athletes to these PWIs." Well, guess what? Do you know what PWIs have outside? Well, what PWIs have that HBCUs don't? They don't really have the money like that.
Facts. They don't have the money. They don't have the notoriety. They don't have the showmanship. So if I'm a top five athlete and I go to Alabama, and from what I hear, Alabama's weight room is eclipsing the weight room of a lot of NFL teams.
If you
And
look
I
at
see, go ahead.
I was about to say, I don't know how Tennessee State's weight room is like, right? But there's a school, and where you at, Montgomery Bell Academy, what I've heard, that their weight room is like a professional, like NFL type locker weight room. And I already know how much tuition is there too. So I'm pretty sure that, you know, their weight room is way more all of that stuff, when they get recruits, they see all of this stuff, right? The facilities, things like that. They probably meet some of the professors, whatever they want to major in, and things like that. Money, top players want to be seen. They want to be seen. And of course, the NIL deals come into play. So if they want to go to Ohio State, if they want to go to Alabama, if they want to go to a Florida, or Miami or Texas, those donors out there, some of those companies like, yeah, you come out here, man, I want to get you a deal, this and that. What's that one school, before we got here, what's that one school that donated all their players with trucks? Was it Utah? I think all the players got trucks.
Yeah, what school was that? I don't know, but I heard that story. Let me see.
I think that was Utah. So you gotta think, players, they starting to treat this like it's a business. I'm not saying they weren't treating it like a business before, but now it's more legal to do so in that aspect. So,
it was Utah. Every scholarship player on the Utah Utes football team will be cruising around Salt Lake City in a 2024 Ram 1500 Bighorn.
think about that. You're 18, 19, 20 years old. You got a brand new truck to cruise around.
A brand new truck.
So now
2024.
So now these athletes are like, man, they know what they're gonna get out of me from this school, but what can I get out of this school?
And that again, that goes back to what I was saying. That's part of the allure to TSU. And I know I'm not expecting TSU to go out and buy all of their players trucks. Yeah, they probably couldn't do that anyway. But still, but you've got to have something to attract them. I'm also attracted to Flame.
Yeah.
So you have to have something to draw them in. You got to have something to compete, and that's Eddie. Eddie George is part of that. He could be part of that allure. He could be part of that. Use his star power for good and build that program up. And not only that, get with these donors. Like I said, they expect Eddie George to do what Prime did, and Eddie's not doing it.
No.
But Eddie's not Prime. And I'm not expecting him to be Prime, but he could step his game up.
He so can. And so, look, Eddie. If you ever need somebody to be on your marketing team, hit your boy up.
Man, holler at me. I got you.
So we'll get you right, man. I know we both want to see you succeed. We want to see the program succeed. Exactly. we matter of fact, we want to see all these schools succeed. So, if this is truly your passion, that's something that you got to ask yourself too. This is something that you want to really be a part of, or this is just something like, well, they want me to come here and just coach. You
And
know,
that's something I wonder. Is this something you really want to do, or are you just doing it because somebody asked you to do it? If your heart ain't in it, if you don't have a passion for it, if you don't have a desire to do it, then you're only going to go so far. And
yeah,
I'm not doubting his passion, but it is kind of suspect when you're more worried about the people that aren't coming to the games than you
yep,
are about your program and thanking the people that have spent their resources to actually attend the game. I mean, one of the things he said was like, well, we have an opportunity to have a winning season this year. You have an opportunity to have a winning season every year.
yeah. You just
We
gotta
have an
do it.
opportunity. Yeah, we have an opportunity to be 5-2. You have an opportunity every year to be 5-2. You have an opportunity to be undefeated.
Uh-huh.
So it's like I get the message. I just don't like the way he's directed the message, and I really wish that somebody had proofread his speech before he got upstairs. I mean, got up there on that podium and turned that mic on.
Yeah, you need a PR person out there to go over
Absolutely, hey man. This is hey.
go
What are you
over
trying to
this
say? No, no, no. Don't say that. Here, this is what you need to say, and hand it to him.
Yep, definitely, definitely. Well, man, we coming towards the end of the episode, man. This was a great episode. I'm pretty sure we're gonna hear more stories about this. And I know we're gonna talk about it some more and everything like that. Before we get out of here, man, you have any last words that you want to say?
Man, again, thank you for the opportunity. It's always a pleasure. It's always a great experience to hop on this hot mic and share, you know, pop culture and sports and entertainment and anything else that we talk about on your
Definitely,
podcast. I'm still proud of you. I'm rooting for you. Keep doing your thing, man, and take this podcast as far as you can.
definitely, definitely. Man. I really appreciate you coming on. And once again, man, y'all make sure y'all follow Drinking After Dark podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And y'all make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. All right. Till next time, for my cousin Ron, I'm Darius. We out. Peace.
Peace.
Gotta get to the money. Gotta get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. So you know that I'm on it. Gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids in there. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. Gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids in there. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money.